concrete walls. There's a place for us where we could go, where we could be alone. Between city lights, we don't have to hide. I wanna go, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? I can't understand why we can't hold hands, but they don't know what we have is real love. Aren't you sick and tired of having to hide? I know a place, do you wanna follow? There's something in the air, I can't explain it, but it's there. Ain't nobody gonna find us in our secret love affair. I don't wanna have to hide no more, it shouldn't be unfair. I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow? Do you wanna follow? Baby, do you wanna follow? Come with me, do you wanna follow? Baby, can't you see that? I wanna go, and I wanna know, do you wanna follow?
What's up, guys? I'm Joshua Bardwell. What the? Hang on now. I'm just going to screw it up. Oh, there we go. Oh, no. Oh, no. Alex. Oh, no. This is what happens when you go, oh, there I am. Hello. Am I in focus? I think it's, let's see here. Oh, this is what happens when you go out of town, guys. Let's make sure we can see all the follicles. There we go. Hello, Livestream. Hello, Livestream. Welcome back. I am back. Nope. Nope. There you go. Woo! Wow. Okay, it's good to be back. I have been gone. I was gone last weekend, you may have noticed. And I just wanted to get showered and shaved and really nice and presentable coming back. And that's why I'm late to my stream. I decided to shower and shave, and it doesn't mean you probably don't even mind. But hello, Pavel Spikowski. Pavel is sometimes called the Polish Joshua Bardwell. Matt RC wants to know what camera I live stream with. It's a Lumix G85. So the other thing that has messed me up today is that YouTube has, look at this nonsense. YouTube has like completely changed their streaming interface from the one that I know, and all the things are in a different place, and but that's okay. We're gonna go with it. Life on a long enough timeline, Google will screw everybody over. So hello, Scotland. Airreal FPV. Forgot to shave the head, RC4 Life. I don't usually shave my head. Maybe I should, though. I hung out with David Vingestal this week, and he had a luxurious beard and a shaved head, and it made me just want to, maybe. So let's get right into the groove. Here we are. Here's my screen that I'm looking at. I got your chat right here, and also they've changed again. They changed it. Where's the super chats? There's no more separate super chat window. So okay. Oh, I see. The separate super chat window is over here now. See, it's over here now, but I can't pop it out. So anyway. But here we are. You guys here in the pleb chat. This is the pleb chat right here. All the plebs gather and ask questions, and I try to answer them. And if you want to make sure that your question gets answered, you can hit the $ down here in the lower left and donate. It'll get called out into a super chat, and I will make sure to get those. And, of course, Haschenberg over in the left. Haschenberg, you guys aren't plebs. These guys over here, this is my Discord server. These guys are definitely not plebs. These are my patrons. They are, oh, I see, Haschenberg, you're saying hey to the plebs over there. Okay, great, yeah. So if you want to join my Discord server, you can become a patron. Link in the video description, yada, yada, yada. Oh, UAV Tech is here, too. UAV Tech, Pavel Spikowski, Joshua Bardwell, all in the same room. Wow. Wow, the nerd power is strong. Mark Spatz. And by the way, again, in case you're new here, I will answer your questions in just a little bit, but I like to start with just a little bit of sort of news of the day, just while everybody trickles in. And I guess one thing I want to show you guys, this is so freaking cool. Mark Spatz, UAV Tech on YouTube, just posted the coolest freaking thing. Did he post that to his timeline? Wow, I'm going to have trouble finding it, but I want to show it to you guys. I know that Ciati reposted it. So let's go check out Ciati's. Where's Ciati? Oh, great. It's not alphabetical. Isn't that nice? Ciati reposted it. There it is. Mark, you are the freaking man, dude. Check this out that Mark Spatz posted. This is just a fantastic breakdown of how to interpret a waterfall plot of Betaflight noise, quadcopter noise. Just a fantastic breakdown of the different types of noise and how the filters approach them. And this is one of those things that is, at first glance, some people's eyes might just glaze over and be like, I don't even know what I'm looking at here. But this is just so juicy, right? Showing this is this horizontal or vertical line here. There's a frame resonance. You know, there's this motor band right here. As the motors go up in frequency, the energy goes up in frequency. And then there's some high frequency noise or harmonics of the motor frequencies maybe. Just brilliant, brilliant stuff. Mark is understanding a lot more about filtering and how to apply it to Betaflight than just about anybody else out there, maybe who isn't a dev. And his YouTube channel is an amazing resource. So thank you, Mark, for what you do. Another thing we got to talk about is I'm looking for a post. I was looking for a post here. We got some photos somewhere. Where's the announcement? Where's the big announcement? It's a multi-GP community. Well, anyway, in case you missed it, the winner of the multi-GP Nationals is not Alex Vanover. Vanover had the full send it socks and everything, and he was not able to eke out the win. You know, as a Rotor Riot team pilot, of course, I was rooting for him. But I actually had two horses in this race because Evan Turner, who won the MultiGP Nationals, is from my hometown of Knoxville. And in case you missed it, Maddie Light is the pilot who won the sportsman class. Maddie Light is also from Knoxville. So both the sportsman and the pro class MultiGP Nationals winners are from Knoxville, which makes Knoxville officially the fastest drone racing city in the United States. I'm calling it. You want to do freestyle? Atlanta is your home. That's where you got to go for freestyle. But for racing, it's Knoxville. Who would have seen that coming? And also congratulations to Thomas Bittamata, who got second place. And, of course, Alex Vanover, who got third. It was a hell of a race. And those guys are all amazing, amazing pilots. So what this means, if I understand correctly, what this means is that Evan Turner is going to make it onto DRL next season. And you might not have heard about this. Last year, Evan Turner also beat Vanover. That year, Vanover got second place in the Nationals. And DRL did not allow anyone under 18 on the show for like labor reasons. Apparently, if you have actors on a television show under the age of 18, it gets way more complicated. And those guys they're filming at like 2 in the morning, and they have long days, so there's all these labor laws. But this year they changed it so that people as young as 16 could get on. And if I understand correctly, that means that next year on DRL, Vanover and Evan Turner will be fighting it out, this is such good drama because Evan won both years and Vanover kind of got in on a technicality. So now, going into the next season, it's going to be really freaking interesting. So, Drone Racer, has Vanover stopped crying? No, come on. Vanover's a professional. Vanover is a consummate professional. At least I know it hurts him when he loses. And I know it motivates him to practice harder than ever before. But I've never seen him, be anything but professional about losing. So kudos to him on that. All right. Let's see what we got here in the questions. Time for questions. What am I drinking? This is lemonade with it's an Arnold Palmer lemonade and iced tea. So I saw some questions coming in about. Oh, you want me to call Vanover now? No, I'm not going to do that. You want me to? I saw some questions coming in about my 3D printer. My 3D printer. I've been out of town since the last time. Literally since the last time you saw me. The current state of my 3D printer is that my Sovol SV01 prints rigid filament just fine, but it will not print flex filament, and it's missing a piece of PTFE tubing, also known as Capricorn tubing, in the extruder, which causes the flex filament to kind of just crinkle up and spiral up inside the extruder and not extrude out. So I actually have that tubing, and I'm going to be putting it in the extruder and hopefully getting it printing. I also received in the mail while I was gone an Ender 3 Pro that I'll be putting together. And I know you guys are saying, where's the freaking videos about this? I really want to get these. I don't want to just make a video that's like my first 3D printer. I really want to get these set up, get them running, and be able to really give an overview of all these different printers so that you can make a decision of which one you want to buy. And so it'll be a little while before we see that content. Have I reviewed the Gep RC Phantom yet? Ooh, wow, no. I kind of forgot that existed. I got to get on that. Do we have a ship date for the HDO2? Asks Neesmore 2. The HDO2, I'm hearing mid-December that they should ship. That's what I'm hearing. No idea for sure. Let's see. Most people who talk big about winning sulk when they lose, says Drone Racer. I got to tell you, Drone Racer, Vanover talks big about winning. He talks trash. And I think there's two reasons that he does it. One is because he knows that larger-than-life characters make for good television, okay? He wants to be, I think he wants to be that larger-than-life character, Nobody would want to see a pro wrestler who was like, I'm probably going to win, but if I don't, that's okay. No one wants to see that on the WWE, right? So Vanover talks big for that, but also I think he talks big because it motivates him. He knows that if he talks a bunch of trash and then he doesn't win, he's going to have to kind of eat crow. And so I think he does it so that it motivates him to win. Callsign Hollywood says, help, soldered 2 motors wrong. Reversed in BL Heli, but it's still flipping out. Callsign Hollywood, if it's flipping out, there are 4 things to check. Number 1, check your motor direction against the diagram in the motors tab. Don't go from memory. Look at the diagram in the motors tab and check your motor direction. Check your motor order. Make sure that slider number 1 moves motor number 1, and so forth. And check your props are on correctly, and check your board alignment. Those are the 4 things to check. Wrong Way FPV says Vanover can also back it up. Yeah, I mean, I would have loved to have seen Vanover win. Again, as a Rotor Riot team pilot, of course, I root for him. Bitamata is a hell of a racer. Bitamata also beat Vanover at I.O., you may recall. I think Vanover didn't make the finals. He got aired out. Somebody crashed into him. Honestly, racing at this level is so technical and precise. It only takes the tiniest of mistakes to crash out. And when you're racing against guys who are as ridiculously fast as Bitamata and Evan Turner, honestly, it could almost be anybody's game. Although Evan did win 2 years in a row, so maybe that says something. Let's see here. I got a bunch of super chats coming in, so let's grab these super chats. Thank you to everybody who's donating in the super chat. That is definitely a big source of support for what I do. Athosa gives 100 ZAR. I don't know what a ZAR is, but gives 100 of them and says, "Hey Joshua, new to FPV. I just built my first drone. Will you be doing a new complete Betaflight setup video, or is the previous one you did still applicable?" Athosa, I do want to do another complete setup video, like start to finish. I have some ideas about what equipment to do it with. The other one is, you can't follow along exactly with the other one because so much has changed. But I still point people to the other setup video because it's just like the basic steps are the same. But it's not, you can't follow along, and I do want to update it. It's almost a year old. Eric Tolman, thank you for $5, and Eric's got that Ford logo as his username. I also drive a Ford. KRD FPV, thanks for 40 rubles. Hi from Russia. Hello, friend. Tyler Sadler, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Any thoughts on how the new drone laws in the U.S. will affect the hobby? Looks like everyone will be required to take a test, 16 plus to take it. Yeah, Tyler. The new knowledge exam is required for, previously you needed to take a test if you were going to get a 107, but now everyone will be required to take a test from the age of 16 and up. It's unclear how, I don't actually understand how that's going to affect people who are under 16. But here's what I've got to say about. YouTube is really effing me up here, because F you, YouTube. Because the frickin' this window does not look. Look at this. I can't frickin' look. See, it doesn't. It doesn't. It has to be full screen. Why? Why? It has to be full screen. F you, YouTube. You're the worst. How am I gonna frickin' do this? Like that? No. Jeez, so ridiculous. All right, sorry, I'll stop whining. So here's what I would say if you're interested in more information about drone laws in the United States. The FPV Freedom Coalition is a great resource. FPV Freedom Coalition is an independent body. They are similar to the AMA in that they fight for the rights of hobbyists. Oops, hang on. Let's turn this off. There we go. But they're focused on FPV. So I have an interview with Dave Messina, the president of the FPV Freedom Coalition, on my channel if you want to hear more about what they do, or check out their website, fpvfc.org. But one of the things they do for their members is help you understand and dig through the regulations as they're coming out. So if you want to know more about that, definitely check out the FPV Freedom Coalition. Eric Tolman, thanks for $5. What's the easiest way to convert a flight controller that's meant for a 4-in-1 to take individual ESCs? I've killed too many 4-in-1s. Eric Tolman, if you're using a flight controller that is made for 4-in-1 ESC, it doesn't have a built-in PDB, power distribution board. You will need an independent PDB. You can just buy those. They're still out there, although, gotta tell you, few people use them anymore. What I would actually probably do, I mean, you could buy a PDB. Like if we go to Get FPV and we just look for a PDB, they're probably like $5. Oh, wrong thing. Sorry. They're probably not expensive, but they're rare. They're far from common. They're very uncommon these days. For Power Plus Pro, so here's $13 for a PDB, and that's what you would need. You'll hook your ESCs up to the PDB. You'll hook your signal wires up to the flight controller. Oh, this one even has a plug. So this would be the kind of thing you would need. Although, I got to tell you, here's $13 for the PDB. I mean, depending on the flight controller you want, you could pay like $35 for the flight controller and have an all-in-one flight controller, which is going to be a lot cleaner build. But that's what you need if you want to do that. MC's Creations, thanks for $5 for the beer pot. Thank you, MC's Creations. Gohalio FPV, thanks for $5. Where did I get this cool shirt? I got this cool shirt from Quadbox. And you can purchase it at the Rotor Riot store. The Rotor Riot store is selling all the Quad Box t-shirts. It's one of the best things about the Quad Box subscription box is everyone comes with an original design t-shirt. If you're into that, which not everybody is, but I am. And after a few months of exclusivity, so the Quad Box people feel special, then they start selling the shirts on the Rotor Riot store. So store.rotorriot.com. Vidar Lervag, thanks for 200 Norwegian kroner. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. The FC on my Larva smoked on arrival. Got a full refund. Should I try to replace the flight controller? I'm a novice at soldering. Hey, I mean, you got a full refund, so you got nothing to lose, right? So go for it. He's a great learner. Joe, thank you, $2. Ford Bronco for the win. Chris Fay, thanks for $5. What are your primary goggles now, DJI or HDO? Are you guys planning any trips to the San Francisco Bay Area? My primary analog goggles are 1,000% the HDO2s. In fact, whoop, here they are right here next to me. Picked up a new Rotor Riot strap for them while I was out there this week. The HDO2s are an amazing analog goggle. The screen looks so good. OLED screens look so good. And I know when I first looked at the HDOs, I wasn't that impressed. I'm not sure what's different about the HDO2s. Maybe it's that they're bigger. Maybe they've tuned the screen better, but the color saturation, the detail, the resolution, the HDO2s are a fantastic analog goggle. If you want to spend $500 on a goggle, which not everybody does, but since I have the privilege of being able to pick and choose, that's the one for me. There are many other good ones out there. Skyo 3.0 at a price of $430 with a module, so $150 cheaper than HDOs with Rapidfire. No, more than $100, like $200 cheaper. Those are great goggles. There are many others. The DJIs, obviously, I'm flying them with my digital quads, but I do not switch to the DJIs as my analog goggles, even though I did the analog mod, because there's just a little bit of additional latency. So. I haven't painted by HDO2 yet, asks MC's Creations. Fat Shark is going to send me spare shells for this as soon as some are available, but I'm not going to take the HDO2 apart just to send them off and get them colored. So no trips to the San Francisco Bay Area planned at this time. Carbon Fire, thank you for $5. Did I try the Orcas this weekend? Thoughts on the optics compared to the HDO2s? I did not actually make it out to Nationals this weekend. I don't know why not. Turns out that Daytona is only about an hour away from Orlando, but by the time Nationals was happening, I had already been on the road for like 10 days, and I was just like, screw it, I'm going home. Also, I'd already booked my reservation, so I didn't want to move my flights. I did not get to try the Orcas, but I did an interview over Skype with Ivan from Orca and asked him the hard questions that you guys are. Basically, I said to him, Ivan, in a world where you could get HDO2s for $500, why would anyone buy Orcas for $650? That's more or less how blunt I was. So that interview is going to release on Monday, tomorrow, and you can check that out if you want. But they say they're going to send me a set of Orcas, but I haven't gotten them yet. So Scout versus HDO2, I'm still debating. Joe, I don't even think there's a comparison there because the Scout is like $200, the HDO2 is like $500 plus a module. You're just not even in the same ballpark. I don't know how you could compare one of those versus the other. One is a box goggle, one is a Fat Shark style goggle. You just got to decide which of those you want. Simon Saucy in the Discord. Let's take care of some, hey, patrons. I haven't forgotten about you. Let's take some messages from patrons in the Discord. Bull Pride says, greetings from West Virginia, listening while building a chicken coop. Good for you, man. I have built chicken coops. Yeah, it's a fun little project for a weekend. Simon Saucy says, so my quad has this wobble in it, and I can only see it in the GoPro feed. It's a little wobble back and forth. Simon, the best thing to do is to share a video. Just describing it's going to be difficult to troubleshoot. Sweet FPV says, both my son and I fly a Tiny Hawk S. His works perfectly on 2S, but the motor shafts on mine get very hot. Sweet FPV, if you have a Tiny Hawk S that you're flying on 2S, you have to pick a different PID profile and rate profile. The PIDs are different. If you run the default PID profile on 2S, you will smoke motors and have flyaways. So check your documentation that came with the Tiny Hawk S on exactly how to do that. But that's probably what the issue is that you're having, Sweet FPV. Let's see here. Is Orca shipping, says Quadophile. So that's another question I asked. Orca is shipping to all their Kickstarter people. We talk in the interview that we'll release on Monday about when all of the Kickstarter orders are expected to be filled and when the Get FPV orders are expected to be filled. I don't remember the exact answers that they gave, and I don't want to misrepresent it, so I would say wait for tomorrow's video. It's 1 p.m. tomorrow. No, I think it's 1 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. That video will release, and you can check that out. Ghost Branch FPV says, we need more fat people in FPV, so these t-shirts are finally available in bigger sizes too. Ghost Branch, let's just check here. Store.rotorriot.com. We'll check menu. Damn, that cricket motor. Thanks to Scarecrow FPV, J.R. Pellegrini, who did that photography. He is amazing. Where is t-shirts? Is it under merch? I guess it's under merch. Rotor Riot Camo Skull t-shirt. Size, see, it goes up to triple XL there, buddy. Triple XL. Is it in stock? Yeah. No, we got you, man. We got us fat guys got to stick together. Okay, I could be fatter, but let's face it, I ain't thin. Sweet FPV says, I am on profile 2 when using 2S. Are you on PID profile 2? Or rate profile 2. I'm just guessing here. Haschenberg says mine also gets hot on 2S, and I am using the proper PIDs. I'm not sure what to tell you at that point, guys. I would have to guess that something is mechanically wrong with the quad, like a bent prop or a bent motor shaft. But I'm really reaching on that because these Tiny Hawks are so durable. I'm not sure. You might have to reach out to Emacs to get a better video. Yeah. Alrighty then. Back to the plebs. Hello, pleb chat. Mad Sloper wants to know, is there a required update file for the HDO2 out of the box? I don't think so, Mad Sloper. They're shipping with the latest DVR firmware, so it should be ready to go. Let's see here. Sky Old Fox 11 wants me to answer Doug Pollard. What is Doug Pollard asking? Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Doug Pollard says, what makes my Rapidfire start up in Rapidfire 2 or Legacy randomly, then kick into Rapidfire 1 mid-flight? I have no idea what could cause that, Doug. I've never had my Rapidfire change modes randomly on starting up. I have no idea. You would have to ask Immersion RC about that. That's pretty weird. I've never experienced that. I've never even heard of it. Macy says, do you still bother with F-Port? It's the only reason I even look at expensive F7s. Macy, F-Port is a fantastic choice if you're using FreeSky receivers that support it. F-Port has several advantages. One of the advantages is that you get telemetry and signal over a single wire. And another advantage is that it has slightly lower latency than S-Bus on most receivers. And another advantage is that it carries RSSI data natively to the flight controller. You don't need to do any weird stuff to get RSSI working. The downside is that F-Port requires you to flash firmware to the receiver, which some people find to be a little bit annoying, especially if you solder the receiver in as opposed to using a plug. The best receiver for F-Port, in my opinion, is the RXSR. The main reason for that is, well, it's just a good receiver, but also it has the plug, so it's very easy to unplug it and flash it if you need to do that, if you have a radio like a QX7 that can flash on the bottom. So there we go. What happened to the Jumper T16, asks Tyler Sadler. I don't know what happened. It's still around. It's still selling, right? Hate Eternal Maver says, the RSSI and the OSD is still not right in Betaflight 4.1. I'm not sure what to tell you about that. Here's what I think. Betaflight 4.1 added a feature where it will get Crossfire RSSI natively without having to do any aux channel stuff. And people are noticing that when you use the native Crossfire RSSI, that it reads differently than the aux channel. I think that the aux channel output of RSSI was actually not just the raw RSSI value. I think that it was, inflated. Because when people use the DBM, the RSSI DBM in the new Betaflight 4.1, those DBM values seem reasonable to me. Here's the thing that people don't understand about RF energy. RF energy drops off exponentially. So when you're very, very close to a transmitter, you have very high RSSI. And when you move just a little distance away, the RSSI drops off a lot. But then as you get further and further away, the rate at which it drops off levels off and it slows down, okay? So people look at RSSI value and they see that it's, you're 20 feet away and your RSSI is like surprisingly low. And they don't expect that. But as an RF professional, that doesn't surprise me. I was an RF professional before I became a YouTube professional. So the dBm values you're seeing don't seem radically weird to me. It's just that you expect them to stay high much longer. You're like, I'm only 30 feet away. Why isn't it like 100%? Well, and I think that TBS must have been fudging the percent number somehow. So here's the thing. When you go from negative 20 dBm to negative 40 dBm, that's a huge drop in terms of milliwatts and decibels, but it's actually like only like 2 or 3% in terms of like signal strength. So I think they were fudging the dBm scale into something linear to try to avoid this exact confusion. But when they give you the actual dBm value, they're just like, okay, here it is. That's what I think. So it's not, Alan Ellis says fudging numbers. Never. I don't mean fudging in a bad way. I just mean that people who aren't RF professionals don't understand how logarithmic scales work typically and get confused when they see that rapid drop off. They expect mentally that it's going to be a linear scale. And so by converting the dBm logarithmic scale into a more linear percent, they were trying to help people get a better perspective on what was actually going on. But now that you can just get the raw numbers, then people are getting a little confused. Rod Clark says, good evening, Joshua. When you update the Crossfire TX, is it necessary to rebind before updating the RX? Rod, you don't have to rebind, but you will have to flash firmware to the Crossfire receiver. It'll do that automatically. What you need to do is you turn on the radio, then you turn on the receiver, and it should connect. It's possible sometimes you need to hit the binding. Sometimes you do need to bind, but it should automatically connect and automatically update. Agent Jack Bauer, I see. Agent Jack Bauer asks, good afternoon, JB. I was wondering if you tried any different antennas on the DJI goggles and if they make a difference. Agent Jack Bauer, yes. Upgraded antennas on the DJI goggles do make a difference. So this week I was shooting with Rotor Riot, and I always love the opportunity to just, people ask, why do you go participate with Rotor Riot? Well, first of all, it's just a lot of fun. I can't wait for you guys to see Monday's episode. What we did on Monday, I had so much fun. It was, if somebody said, we've got a drone vacation and you get to go do what we got to do, you would pay to go do what we got to do. So the fact that I just get to do it blows my freaking mind. But another great thing about going on these Rotor Riot shoots is there's so many other people I just run into. Like and they have all kinds of different gear that I haven't tried yet. And one of the things that I got to try out this weekend was the little stubby antennas from TrueRC that go on the DJI goggles. And I can tell you that some of these upgraded antennas, especially the patch antennas, if you decide to go that direction, but even the stubby ones from TrueRC give improvement in range compared to the stock DJI antennas. I'm not sure why. Somebody actually suggested that the DJI antennas are linear and not circular polarized. I haven't confirmed that. I just heard it. If that was true, then that would mean you would get like a 3 dB increase just from going to circular antennas. So I can't vouch for any specific one except those TrueRC stubbies, which I have personally experienced. But yes, if you want to get more range from your DJI system, number one, do the 1200 milliwatt mod. I showed that on my channel how to do it. That significantly improves range. It doesn't like double your range, but you definitely notice an improvement in range by doing the 1200 milliwatt mod. And use a patch antenna if you're flying in front of yourself. That will also significantly increase your range. Got a few more super chats coming in. Let's get those out of the way. Coelho FPV says, please cite a source for motor bearings. I have a couple that are getting noisy and would like to R&R. Coelho, thank you for $5 in the super chat, Coelho. The best motor bearings you can get are the EZO bearings, the Japanese EZO bearings. And the best place to get them is, I mean, if you just go to wherever you bought your motors from, like, for example, here on Get FPV is EZO bearing kit for F40, F60 Pro motors, 2 pieces. Now, you probably are paying too much, because if you go to just a generic supplier and try to buy EZO bearings, but you got to make sure you get the right size bearings, and naturally they are not going to tell you what the size of the bearings is. So you need the exact bearing dimension, but once you know the exact bearing dimension, you could buy them from anywhere. But the safest thing to do would be to pay a little bit extra to get the exact bearings that the manufacturer says are the right ones. If you're going to upgrade the bearings, or if you're going to change the bearings, definitely get the EZO bearings. They are better than the stock bearings in almost all motors, unless they're also EZO bearings. NSK bearings are also pretty good. Did I get the ceramic tweezers? Asks Jake Rubel. Jake Rubel, thank you so much. And thank you for a $2 super chat as well. Jake Rubel saw me let the fire out of my DJI Air unit using Drew's tweezers. Jake, you really needed to send these to Drew. Those were his tweezers. I would never use sharp, pointy tweezers to press a bind button. It was just because we were at Drew's house, but thank you. These are special tweezers with ceramic ends, and Jake sent them to me as a gift. Thank you so much, Jake. Ken Heron, thanks for $10 in the super chat. Ken Heron came out to my house yesterday. If you don't know his YouTube channel, check it out. It's Ken Heron, Heron like the bird, Heron. And we shot some content about the DJI Mavic Mini. He let me fly his Inspire. Big mistake. And we just had a good old time hanging out. So I'm trying to get a DJI Mavic Mini and trying to make some content about that. Mostly I just want a DJI Mavic Mini yeah. So Ken is still wearing the tiny Band-Aid. Ken said to me, you know, on this DJI Mavic Mini, you can just stick your finger in the props and it won't cut you. And I was like, are you sure about that? And he's like, yeah. He said, so we'll arm it. So we armed the Mavic Mini. It's idling on the ground. And I stick my finger in it, and sure enough, dunk, 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 no big deal. I'm like, oh, that's not so bad. He's like, now let's spin up the motors and stick your finger in it. And I was like, let's stick your finger in it. So now the Mavic Mini is hovering, and Ken goes, zoop, and sure enough, it cuts his finger. I was like, yeah, So, yeah. Don't stick your finger in the freaking Mavic Mini's props. Bob Pickwood, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Moving on over to the Discord. We just make the rounds. Right? Sweet FPV, still working on that Emacs situation. Sweet FPV, if you hear anything from Emacs, let me know as well. Simon Saucy has uploaded his wobbling FPV footage. Let's see if we can let's see what we can do with that. We got any audio? Audio is going to be terrible, isn't it? This is DVR. Oh, God. No audio. Oh, it would be great if you had high def. Do you have high def, dude? We really want sound, to be honest. There we go. Okay, let's get some sound here. Hang on. Let me make sure I don't blow out your ears on the stream. Ooh. Okay, all right, Simon, already, do you hear what your motors are doing? I want you guys to listen to the motors, and listen that the motors are not going, they're kind of going, okay, listen to the motors. Right there, do you hear that? You like my impression of those motors? Okay, so that right there, that tells you that you have excess gyro noise or insufficient filtering. Okay, we're going to keep looking at the rest of this. But the minute you hear that sound from your motors, you have a problem. Your quad is definitely flying worse than it should, and you may be at risk of smoking a motor or having a flyaway. That is a symptom of excess degain, insufficient filtering, or something mechanically wrong with the quad. Think about it this way. vibrations get into the gyro and cause problems with the D term. Okay? If there's too much vibration getting in, or if there's too much D gain, that situation will be made worse. Filters fight all of that. So if you have a normal amount, if you have a normal amount of vibration, but way too much D gain, you'll have that problem. If you have a normal amount of vibration and normal D gain, but not enough filtering, you'll have that problem. You see, it's a balance of these three things. If you have way too much vibration and a normal amount of filtering, you could still have this problem. So you got to check all three of these things. If you've been playing with filters and moving those filter sliders to the right, put them back down to 1.0. If you've been raising D gain, put that back down to the default. And check your quad mechanically for things like loose screws, broken carbon fiber, etc. Okay, so now let's keep going and let's watch. But immediately, anything that happens from here on out in this video, I'm going to give you the same answer because I can already tell what's one thing that's wrong with the quad, and that's the first thing we have to solve. But let's keep watching. Now we got some bumping. Do you see that the horizon is jiggling around? That's the physical manifestation of the sound that we're hearing in the motors. Okay, so you might say, oh, that's a mid-throttle oscillation. Nope. Mid-throttle oscillation looks similar to that, but when you have mid-throttle oscillation, the motors would sound smooth, but we would still kind of see the horizon bumping. This is over the line. Oof. Yeah, it's bad. Oh, yeah. Wow. Looks like it's primarily on the roll axis. Yikes. Okay, so that's what you got to do, Simon Saucy. That's what you got to do. Okay. Soft mount the flight controller. Use RPM filtering if you haven't used it. Yeah, all of these things. Vivid Details says, I'm trying to bind the Banggood quad I got with Crossfire in it. Light on the receiver stays solid red. Isn't it supposed to go into bind mode automatically? Vivid Details, here's what I've done in the past. Turn on the transmitter, put the transmitter in bind mode, then power up the quad. I have had some Crossfire receivers not go into bind mode unless the transmitter was already in bind mode when they powered up. But in some cases, even that doesn't work, and you just have to get in there and push the bind button, and then it'll work. Let's see. Good evening from the North Pole, says Sivari. As Sivari is as close to the North Pole as you can get. Wow. Where are you at, Sivari? Let's see here. Is there a recommended lubrication for bearings, or should I just buy new bearings? Ask Jacob Martinson in the Discord. Thank you for being a patron, Jacob. I don't recommend lubricating your bearings, and here's why. The bearings that we use in quadcopter motors come pre-lubricated from the factory. They have basically a thick grease in them. And that grease is really good because the bearings are shielded to keep dust out. They're not completely sealed because they spin at too high of an RPM and they would build up too much heat if they were sealed. But they're shielded so they keep most of the dust out, and that grease does a good job of not really picking up or attracting dust and dirt. When you put oil into the bearings, that oil sort of dissolves the grease and lets the grease run out. The grease is good because it doesn't go anywhere. Oil will eventually run out of the bearings and you'll need to re-oil them. So the problem is that if you start oiling your bearings, then you will need to keep oiling them forever. But if you never oil your bearings, they will probably be fine for the life of the bearing. If you've got a bearing that's running rough, chances are very good that it's not that it needs oil, but that it's just damaged. We beat the crap out of these bearings. And the types of loads we place on the bearings are the worst kind of loads you can place. We are jamming up and down on the bearing race. Bearings are very good. If you've got a bearing that's like this, the bearing is very good at force in this direction or this direction, but very bad at force in this. Oh my God, don't make a gif of that. And if you think about what we're doing with our motors, we're constantly bashing up and down on them. So our bearings get damaged very easily, even if they're high quality bearings. So I would say if you've got a bad bearing, replace the bearing if you feel like taking your motor apart, or replace the motor. Because honestly, taking motors apart and getting the bearings out is a giant pain in the ass unless you have the right equipment to press a bearing out. It's a huge pain in the ass. So I don't lube the bearings. I don't lube the bearings because they're permanently lubed from the factory, and by the time that becomes an issue. The other thing is, if you oil the bearings, most people don't oil the bearings correctly. If all you do is just drip some oil on the bearing shroud, it doesn't get in there. It may be a little. If you really want to oil your bearings correctly, you take them out of the motor and you soak them in a plastic bag like overnight with the oil, and then it really gets in there, and that's the right way to do it. But the problem is that then once you have oily bearings, the oil leaks out and attracts dirt and dust, and it's just a mess. I don't do it. Sivari is at Spitsbergen, 78 degrees north. That is pretty freaking north. Well, welcome to the live stream, my friend. Back to the plebs. Sorry, plebs. I've been gone so long. Back to the plebs. Hello, pleb chat. Is this stream PG rated? It's supposed to be, Vidar. I try to keep my stuff family friendly almost all the times. Like, if you know how to grease bearings and pack bearings, go for it. But for most people, the answer is that don't oil your bearings, and by the time the bearing gets rough, it's probably damaged and just needs to be replaced. That's what I think. Balit Al-Masi says, sometimes my Attitude V5 doesn't record my DVR. It just says file error. Why does it do that? I would format the SD card in the Goggle, and if that still doesn't work, try a new SD card. Let's see here. Try to decide whether to mod my QX7S to work with Crossfire or just buy an X9D. Landon Kramer, if you have a QX7 and you're doing Crossfire, I would say you should do the mod. However, I will say, Ken Heron brought his QX7 and his Crossfire system over yesterday, and I helped him get it set up. And I didn't want to do the mod on his QX7 because I was just like, dude, I don't want to just, what if I break your radio? So we used the software setting in the QX7 that reduces the baud rate, and I flew it afterwards. And if you do that, it increases the latency. But I got to tell you, I flew his quad afterwards and felt fine to me. I know that latency is pernicious, and I am far from the most latency sensitive pilot. But I think some people would be fine running the QX7 with the baud rate turned down and not even notice the difference. I don't know. If you haven't bought the QX7 yet and you intend to run Crossfire, just don't buy the QX7. Buy the X9D or buy the Jumper T16. Here's the thing. If you buy an X9D right now, it doesn't have Crossfire support in the firmware. FreeSky is not shipping it with the Crossfire. You would have to flash the OpenTX firmware to get Crossfire to work. And, I mean, I'm like, why would you pay $250 for an X9D and then have FreeSky be like, we don't want you running Crossfire. We're gonna try to make it so you can't do that. And you're like, oh no, I'm going around you, FreeSky. It's like, I kind of have this attitude, like, if you don't want me, I don't want to be here. I'm not going to, like, try and fight you on this, FreeSky. If I run Crossfire, I could buy an X9D and flash firmware and hope you haven't done the inverter mod and other things that FreeSky is going to try to do to prevent me from using Crossfire. Or I could just buy the Jumper T16, and Jumper's like, please, use Crossfire. We love Crossfire. Like, I don't know. That's me. Let's see. What's your, let's see. What do we got here? Tim Doink, my OSD Crossfire RSSI is inconsistently different to my Tyrannus RSSI. Do you know a solution? No, I don't. Tim, here's the thing. If you look in the OSD, if you're using RSSI DBM, not the aux channel method. If you're using the aux channel method, I have noticed also that the aux channel RSSI is not the same as the telemetry sensor RSSI. But if you are using the DBM, it should really be the same. And I don't know what the difference is. So, Simon Saucy is sharing his PIDs. Let's have a look at Simon's PIDs. Here are Simon's filters, and we see that he is at 1.0 on the filtering. I love the filter sliders because, like, I don't have to look at these numbers and go, are these the defaults? I can just look at his sliders, and I can see that his sliders are at 1.0, and I know he hasn't tweaked his sliders. So he's not running the RPM filter, but the default filtering of 1.0 should be fine for most setups. So then we've got his PIDs. And again, I can just look at his PIDs and see that the sliders, I can see that he hasn't touched the PIDs. So, Simon, since you're at the defaults, and the defaults should fly pretty okay for most people, I now suspect something is mechanically wrong with your quad. I would be looking for broken carbon, split carbon, a cracked carbon fiber plate, a loose standoff, a soft mount the flight controller, messed up gyro in the flight controller. These are the directions I would go, Simon. Brad Barlow is asking, any possibility of an upgraded HDO2 DVR board later down the line? Brad Barlow, Fat Shark has not given any indication that they intend to do that as far as I know. It certainly is something they could do. When I asked about the DVR, so in case you're not on board, the HDO2 comes with the standard Fat Shark DVR, the same Fat Shark DVR we've had for years, and not the upgraded DVR that's in the Fat Shark Scout goggles that records in H.264, 60 frames per second, yada, yada, yada. And I was disappointed about this. And they said, well, we didn't want to risk holding up release of the goggles just to test this new DVR board. So they certainly could release an upgraded DVR board in the future now that the goggle's out there. That is something they did a long time ago. Fat Shark goggles didn't have a capacitor on the DVR, and that meant that if you unplug the goggles without stopping the DVR, your recording would be corrupted. Now, they released an updated DVR board that has that a long time ago. So it's possible that they would do that, although I haven't heard anything. So HZQ asks, is it normal if I can push my new motor bell by hand and it moves a little downwards? Or should I tighten the set screw on the bottom of the motor? I would say HZQ, maybe as much as a 0.5 millimeter of play, of vertical play in the shaft could be normal. You need it, if it's so tight that it binds the motor, that's going to create heat and it's going to damage things. But not more than maybe a 0.5 millimeter of play, not even a millimeter. So basically just the tiniest bit of vertical play, but nothing more than that. If you do decide to tighten the screw, be aware that many motors come from the factory with Loctite on the screws, and if you don't heat the screw, when you try and turn the screw, you'll strip the screw or even rip the head off. So if you intend to tighten or loosen your motor screws, get a soldering iron, put the soldering iron on its hottest temperature, put the soldering iron on the screw, and wait until you feel the top of the shaft start to heat up a little bit. You see what I'm getting at? And that will prove, just hold the top of the shaft with your fingers, put the soldering iron on the screw, and then when you start to feel the shaft warm up a little bit, that means that you've heated up the screw and released the Loctite, and at that point you can turn the screw. Okay. E. Mikey wants to know, how close do your batteries have to be before putting them on a parallel charging board? 0.1 volts per cell. Let's see here. Mark Pietersi says, Fat Shark just rushed because of Orca. You're not wrong, Mark. You're not wrong. Fat Shark rushed the HDO2 because of Orca, and it worked. A whole lot of people who might have bought Orca probably bought the HDO2 instead. Remember that tomorrow at 1 p.m. I have an interview with Ivan from Orca, in which I ask him, basically, Fat Shark HDO2s have the same optical specs, same resolution field of view as Orca, and they're $150 less. Why should anyone buy Orcas? He answered that question, and we talked about a few more things about Orca's delivery delays and so forth. If you want to check that out, it's releasing tomorrow, Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern on my channel. And if you are not subscribed and if you haven't hit that notification bell, Well, that's how you can make sure you don't miss any of my videos. Occasionally somebody messages me and says, "Hey Joshua, just want to see if you're doing okay. Haven't seen as many videos from you lately as I used to." And I say, I am making the same number of videos as I always did, about 5 a week, 4 or 5 a week. And if you're not seeing them, it's because you didn't hit that bell. Yeah. Let's see here. Radio Link 189S works with Crossfire now. It says triple DRC. That's exciting. It's exciting. Cement Kid says, is it unusual to have to bump up the offset from 400 to almost 16,000 to get my milliamp hours to read correctly on a Lux V3 Micro? No, that's not right. That is 1,000% not correct, Cement Kid. Probably what you've done is you have the wrong current sensor selected, and now you have calibrated just a random floating voltage as if it was the current input. That offset you shouldn't usually need to change the offset. The scale you need to change, but the scale shouldn't go to 16,000. That's way off. That is way off. Got some more super chats coming in. Bob Pickwood, thank you for $5. Simon Saucy, thanks for $1. Fatbot, $2. Can you run different brand motors with the same KV and size? Fatbot, you can mix and match motors. You won't get the best flight performance out of it. You also might not even notice the difference. So yeah, you can do it, but it's not recommended. BackRD FPV, thanks for $5 in the super chat. Mr. Crowley in his drone says, good afternoon, JB. Hope all is well. Do you still recommend the HDO2 over the HDO now that you've had time with the goggles? Yes. 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 The HDO2 is better than the HDO. Why would the HDO be better? It's got a smaller field of view, lower resolution. The HDO takes the diopter inserts. Okay, if you don't fit within the +2 to -6 diopter range, or if you have really strong astigmatism, the HDO2 is not the one for you. Also, the HDO2 is $500. The HDO is, I think it's $450, but I would expect the HDO to come down, because nobody should pay $450 for an HDO when the HDO2 is just $50 more. So, I mean, it's a more expensive goggle, but I assume that you've considered that if you're asking. Yes, the HDO2 is better than the HDO in basically every way. Let's see here. How to overwinter lipos for several months, asks Pressy55. Put them at 3.8 volts and store them somewhere, like not too hot, which in the winter shouldn't be a problem. That's about it. What do you think about the FlySky Nirvana, says Florian W. Here's the problem with the FlySky Nirvana, Florian. It has fantastic hardware design, but the software support for it has really been let down, and the customer support from Underground FPV has not been to a standard that I feel like I would recommend. Whenever I post about a product, sometimes I post about a product and the comments are full of people saying, this is a great product, this is a great company, I love it. And that always feels good to me. Sometimes I post about a product and there are a few people who say, oh, I had a bad problem. Like, for example, occasionally somebody will be like, Race Day Quad support sucks. I emailed them a week ago and didn't get an answer. And I always immediately forward that to Race Day Quad support and say, you guys are usually so on the ball. What's going on with this guy? But I like, that's an anomaly is my point. But when I started posting about the FlySky Nirvana, every video I made about the FlySky Nirvana, there were a significant number of people in the comments saying, I can't get support from Underground FPV. I placed a order and I didn't get my product and I can't get a refund. I emailed them with a technical issue and they didn't respond. And at first I was like, well, is this just an anomaly? But it kept happening. And so what I started doing is I started forwarding that stuff personally to the owner of Underground FPV and saying, hey, here's a customer who has a problem. And I watched the response and I felt like the response was not the kind of customer service that I felt like putting myself behind. So, but you can get the Underground the Nirvana from FlySky. Well, there's still issues with firmware updates, and there's like one guy working on a open source project with firmware updates for it, and I just don't feel like I feel like it's too precarious. Like there's a chance that you would get it and you'd be left out of the cold with a firmware update, and yeah. So that radio had so much promise, but I feel like it was let down in the execution. So Ed Delta Espriella wants to know recommendations for TPU filament brand for 3D prints. Ed, I don't have a lot of experience printing TPU yet, but everybody I talk to says Sane Smart TPU is the best. Yeah. Let's head on over to the Discord and talk to the patrons for a few minutes. Popular Mechanics says, Joshua Bardwell, is there a benefit to you after someone subscribes to you on YouTube for us to hit the bell, or does it make a difference? Thank you for asking, Popular Mechanics. I don't normally go out of my way to talk about subscribe, hit the bell. I just try to make great content and hope the right thing happens. But since you asked and since you're a patron, I feel obligated to answer. No. The big advantage of you subscribing and hitting the bell is that here's the number one thing you can do to help out channels that you like. When you see a video from that channel, you click on it. YouTube is very concerned about something called click-through rate, which means that when they show you a video, either in a search result or just as a recommended video over in the sidebar, when they show that to you and you don't click on it, your click-through rate goes down. When they show the video to you and you click on it, the click-through rate goes up, and that tells YouTube that this is a video that you want to see. So just clicking on the videos when you see them is the number one thing you can do. However, if you don't, the first few minutes, maybe up to an hour after a video is released is the most important time for that video being successful, because YouTube will look at how big the response is from a video, and if it's getting a massive response, they'll show it to more people in the recommended videos. So the number one thing you can do to help a channel is in the first, say, hour after a video is released, you go and watch the video, and then also retention is the next most important thing. That is, when you click on the video, how much of it do you watch? If you click on the video, you watch 30 seconds and you click away, YouTube goes, aha, this is clickbait. It's a clicky thumbnail or title, but then you didn't actually watch the content. So the best thing you can do is within the first hour after a video releases, you click on the video and then you watch it all the way to the end. That's it. So how does the bell fit into that? Well, if you don't click the subscription bell, even if you're subscribed, YouTube will not tell you every time I release a video. The subscribe button doesn't actually really do anything. I mean, it probably, you could be subscribed to my channel and you think, okay, now YouTube's going to tell me every time Joshua releases a video. No. The algorithm is taking over. But when you hit that bell, every time I release a video, you will get a notification for it on your phone, on your desktop, however you have your notifications set up. And that gives you the opportunity to then go and watch in that first critical hour after the video releases. So that's the advantage. Simply hitting the bell by itself doesn't do anything. But hitting the bell is necessary to watch the videos. Maurice, thank you for being a patron, Maurice. With Failsafe set to drop, is there a need or advantage to have Failsafe on a switch? In other words, is disarming always enough, or are there situations where we want to initiate Failsafe through a switch, other than testing, of course, which you could. Here's why you might want a Failsafe on a switch, Maurice. The number one reason to Failsafe on a switch is simply to test that Failsafe is working correctly. But as you point out, you can just turn the radio off. If you have GPS rescue set up as your Failsafe, there might be a time when you would want to trigger that Failsafe. But couldn't you just trigger GPS rescue? So yeah. I don't think Failsafe on a switch is generally useful because whatever, unless maybe you're testing Failsafe and you want something more convenient than turning off your radio. Let's see. Rafnik has an interesting question. I already asked yesterday, didn't get a solid answer on the Discord. I'm flying an ultra lightweight quad, and I have issues with bounce back on sharp rolls and flips. I have Mr. Steel throttle cut set up and usually don't use air mode. Enabling air mode fixes the bounce backs, but it flies like crap. Well, the PID loop doesn't act, he says, shouldn't the PID loop act the same with and without air mode? No, well, I mean, the PID loop acts differently with air mode on than off. That's air mode is doing something, but I have no idea why enabling air mode would fix bounce backs. Air mode increases authority at low throttle. So I guess if you're going to zero throttle during your flips and rolls, maybe that would raise the I term. Why would raising the I term fix bounce backs? That usually makes bounce backs worse. So I would personally want to be flying with air mode on. But all these oscillations, wobbles, and etc. Usually when turning air mode on causes problems, it actually means that there's something else wrong with the quad. But at low throttle, the quad just doesn't have enough authority to manifest the problem. Like, for example, sometimes turning air mode on causes a flyaway. And the issue is not that turning air mode on caused the flyaway, but that the quad wanted to fly away anyway, and it didn't have enough oomph to do it. And when you turn on air mode, it increases the oomph, and then it flies away. But you got to figure out why it's flying away. I would want to know why you're getting oscillations and wobbles with air mode on. Do you have the same problem that Simon Saucy was having, where you have too much vibration getting into the flight controller? That's the direction I would be going. Let's see here. Pavel Spikowski says, failsafe on a switch is for old receivers and radios that weren't reporting failsafe to the flight controller and only allowing to set channel values. Oh, I see. So old receivers didn't do failsafe the way we want them to today. Today, when a receiver goes into failsafe, it goes no pulses. And the flight controller sees that the signal from the receiver has stopped and a failsafe is triggered. On old receivers, they would not do that, and they would only do a fixed channel position. And what you would do, I guess, is you would set the failsafe aux mode up to activate when failsafe happened, and it would go to that fixed channel position. Weird. Yeah, so there's no reason to do that with modern receivers, is my point. Does air mode work on a 3D quad? Well, I don't know why it wouldn't, but that's interesting. I mean, I would think they would be compatible. Tyler Johnson says, any considerations when connecting the JBF4 flight controller to the DJI system? Tyler, the 9-volt regulator on the JBF4 flight controller does not have enough current capacity to run. It seems like it ought to, but it doesn't. So if you have a JBF4, you have to run the DJI Air unit off of VBAT. Use an ESC Plus pad. Or you get if you're running on higher than 4S, you need a regulator. But the onboard regulator doesn't do it. Salvas FPV says, my TBS Crossfire Nano receiver won't bind. TX and RX blinking green, but it won't bind. Salvas, I think that means that it needs a firmware update. Salvas, I suggest anytime you're having trouble getting your Crossfire receiver to bind, use this method. Okay. Use this method. I'll paste this in the chat for you. And this is the emergency receiver recovery mode, and that will help. That always does it for me. Got a couple more super chats coming in. Pepin Nijhuis. Sorry, Pepin. 50 Swedish kroner. Favorite kroner, since I spent the week hanging out with David Winterstall, who is also a Swede. Is there a way to calibrate the voltage sensor in my ESC? Calibration settings in Betaflight disappear when I select ESC as voltage source. No, there is no way. You can calibrate the current sensor in the ESC, but not the voltage. Voltage sensors are almost always correct. That's easy to build an accurate voltage sensor. But my question is, why are you using the voltage sensor from the ESC? Can you not just use the built-in voltage sensor on the flight controller? The only reason you wouldn't be able to use the built-in voltage sensor on the flight controller is if you're doing like an 8S or 12S quad and you need the ESC. But if you're using 6S or lower, just use the built-in flight controller voltage sensor and you should be good to go. The Therapist FPV, thanks for $10 in the super chat. Have racing quads, freestyle quads, HD3, HDO, but I'm interested in HDO2 and they're the DJI system. Have people interested in purchasing my quad? Should I sell and or keep a quad or two and then also build the DJI setup? I can't answer that question for you, the Therapist. The question you're asking is, should I just ditch analog and go whole hog into DJI? I can't answer that question for you. I will tell you, some people are doing that, which really surprised me. But there are a surprising number of people who are just saying, I'm done with analog. I never want to fly analog again. And I'm like, but what about the price? What about what about micros? Can't fly a 2-inch on DJI. And they're like, don't care. Don't care. Done. Especially if you consider that you can use a ground station or do the analog mod on your DJI goggles. And although the analog mod does add a little latency, as you saw in my video from last week, you could still rip. I mean, it's for micros and stuff, it's still pretty flyable. Some people are making that decision. I'm not ready to make that decision. I thankfully, I have the enormous privilege as a YouTube reviewer. I have the privilege to be able to just say, I'm going to have HDO2s and DJI goggles. It's such a, you guys want to know what sucks? When you're going on a trip, you can identify with this, can't you? Your backpack is full of quad gear, and you don't have room for your HDO2s and your DJI goggles. Am I right, guys? You know what I'm talking about, don't you? Okay, but most people aren't going to be in that situation. I do see the argument. If you have the money to put a DJI Air unit in all of your quads, I definitely see why people might make that decision and go, screw it, I'm just going digital. Anyway. Fatbot wants me to do the motor noise again. Well, for a $2 super chat, what can I do? I believe it was anyway. Matt F., thank you for $5. Do you think the digital systems need to worry about multipath? Could we get better reception with non-polarized antennas? Well, Matt, actually, polarized antennas are the best for dealing with multipath. Because polarized antennas, circular polarized antennas, reject multipath. So if multipath is a problem, then circular polarized antennas are the answer. Thank you, Aaron Venezia, for $5 in the super chat. And BackRD FPV, thanks for $5. I think we're caught up in the super chat now. Debugman said, thank you for $5. Debugman, please reply to Damn Fast FPV. They keep asking a question. All right, well, for a $5 super chat, I guess I will look it up. Where is Damn Fast FPV? Now I have to find Damn Fast in the chat. Can I just search for Damn Fast? No, I'm not finding that. There it is. Where's Damn Fast? Here we go. Damn Fast FPV says, can I please send you a Damn Fast FPV frame to try? Pretty please with Picard. Nick Burns loved it. Albert Kim is getting his tomorrow. Damn Fast, I can't make you any promises. I try to focus mostly on educational content as much as reviews. I really don't know how people like Albert Kim or Oscar Leong, who just crank out reviews, do it. I can't make you any promises. If you send it, I can promise you that if you send it, I will take a look at it, but I can't promise you that there would not be enough time in the day to review all of the products that people want to send me. So you can send it, I will take a look at it, but I can't make you any promises about whether I would make a review video about it. Let's see. Let's see here. I don't know what this Arthur says. What does that even mean, Arthur? I know Arthur is gone. Oh well. Oh well. Never mind. Arthur says, please stop jerking Orca bakers. makers? I don't know. 7 Biker Boy 7 says, hello, Joshua. It's me, the one that tried the SB Racing H7 Extreme Flight Controller, but it didn't work. Hi, 7 Biker Boy 7. I don't, it's not really a question, but okay. Hi. Let's see here. Ghost Branch FPV says, for more authority at low throttle, wouldn't it raise P for flips and rolls? Ghost Branch, I'm not 100%. I think air mode has changed a little bit over the years. I remember that the primary thing air mode did was raise the I term. No, sorry, I'm thinking of anti-gravity gain. I got that backwards. What air mode, see, the basic thing that air mode does is raise the motor output when it's needed to increase authority. But it also tweaks the PIDs a little bit, but I don't know the details about what it does. Simon Saucy says, Simon found a broken arm on his quad. He says, fix the arm. Really, Simon? Is it that easy? Where he says, fix the arm. Where is it? Oh, a loose arm. Ha! Wow! Simon had a loose arm on his Source 1, and that could definitely cause that problem, dude. Yeah. People who bake, yeah. Kyle K says, thank you, Kyle. That's very generous of you. He says, I think Joshua spends too much time answering people's emails to review everything. I do spend a lot of time every day answering people's messages. I spend about 2 or 3 hours every morning, and then miscellaneous time throughout the day answering emails and questions. My focus has always been on connecting with you guys personally and responding to your messages. And it means that a lot of times, I've been very fortunate to be successful doing that. If I just focused on product reviews, I don't know. I was going to say, if I just focused on product reviews, maybe I'd make more money. But you guys are incredibly generous as patrons. And you guys are incredibly generous, in going out of your way to use affiliate links and to visit my website and in super chats. I'm not actually sure I would be doing better if I was just shilling product, because you guys would be like, I don't know. Anyway, it's what I do. So Ryan Shub wants to know, for someone who is really looking to invest in FPV, should I go HD or stick to analog till HD goes mainstream? This is the best question, Ryan, and I really I should make a video about this. I just wrote this up in an email to somebody, and he said, I'm just getting into FPV. Should I just go whole hog into DJI, or should I buy analog? And I would say there are let me pull up the email so I can really just get my thoughts together correctly without having to faff about too much. But let's see. Oh, I'm not even sure. Oh my gosh, which content it was. Which account it was. Hold on. Sit tight for just 1 minute, guys. Okay, here it is. So this guy said, here's my answer. I said, the DJI system is amazing to use. It's not perfect yet, but overall it is a huge, huge improvement over analog video. Pardon me. Both in terms of image quality and in terms of usability. Like, you don't have to worry about hitting somebody else's channel. So to me, the way to approach the question is not, why should I get the DJI system, but why wouldn't I get it? And here, in my opinion, are the main reasons somebody would choose analog over DJI. Number one, price. DJI is way more expensive than analog. The goggles are more expensive than budget goggles. They're actually about the same price as premium goggles. But then you got to put a video transmitter, and the air unit is like $160, $180, maybe $200. The price has changed. But so you're going to spend more on the gear if you go DJI. Now, if you're asking the question, should I just go DJI? Probably you've already decided you can afford it. So, price. Number two, why would you not get DJI? Political or ideological reasons. Some people don't like DJI because they feel like it's driving out competition. Some people are although, is DJI driving out competition? Because as soon as DJI entered the market, suddenly, here's Bitefrost. Oh. But no, there's no question that if DJI wanted to put any of the FPV companies out of business, they would. The DJI makes like $25 billion a year. selling Phantoms and Mavics to real estate photographers and fathers on Christmas who lose them in a tree. $25 billion a year. DJI could buy Fat Shark, TBS, Immersion RC. They could buy them many times over if that's what they wanted to do, or they could just throw enough money at the problem. If DJI wanted to put TBS out of business, they would just make a Crossfire competitor that was better in every way because they can, because they have a load of money. So some people feel DJI hasn't done that. Why haven't they done it? I don't know, but they haven't. Some people don't like DJI for that reason. They stay away. Some people are uncomfortable with DJI's ties to the Chinese government, to which I say, yeah, buy an American product so the American government can spy on you. Okay. But sure, okay. Some people don't like having to register their equipment. Some people only want to support open source projects. If you have any of these political or ideological concerns, you might go analog instead of DJI. Number 3, social experience. DJI goggles cannot receive analog signals. You can use a ground station or do a mod if you want to do that, but it does add latency. And your friends can't watch you fly unless they also have DJI goggles, and there's no solution for that today. And if you want to have that social experience, you're not going to get it unless you buy DJI goggles for all your friends too. Number 4, micro quads. If you need to go below 3 inches, you can't do DJI today. Although, again, you can do the analog mod, and that does kind of work, but has a little bit of latency. And number 5, long range. If you're trying to go really long range, then you know you can crank analog with a high gain antenna and it'll work. DJI might be able to do that, but it's still unproven. And I would say, there we go. I would say at that point, if none of those issues feel like a deal breaker for you and you're asking yourself, should I go analog or should I go DJI? If none of those issues are deal breakers for you, then go DJI. I mean, that's it. Why not both, says JRC. An HD and a cheap box goggle. Yeah, I would do the analog mod first. Let's see. Pile of Carbon says, personally, I dislike any company that requires you to buy into an ecosystem. Same with Apple. Pile of Carbon, I think the comparison between DJI and Apple is actually pretty apt. And somebody brought this up. We did a Rotor Riot live stream a couple nights ago talking about DJI. And somebody brought that up. And Drew said, I love Apple. Lots of people out there love Apple and are very happy to be in the Apple ecosystem. There are going to be, and lots of people, I have Android myself. I don't want to be in the Apple ecosystem. I like Android. So the same people might choose to buy DJI instead of Fat Shark. Techno FPV says, the problem is 90% of the FPV videos YouTubers are doing now has to be about or mention DJI. It's getting annoying. I feel you, Techno. I will tell you, the DJI videos get a ton of views. So for every one person who is sick of hearing about DJI, there's like 500 people who are dying to hear more about DJI. And it's hard to ignore that. Not just because I'm like, oh, I must get the views, but because I just genuinely want to serve my audience. And if my audience wants to see content about DJI, then I want to satisfy them. Doesn't mean I'm going to forget about analog, though. Let's see. Okay. Check the super chats out. C. Joe, thanks for $2 in the super chat. Do a build video or sell the bench power supply, please. I didn't do a build video about that, did I? Wrong Way FPV, thanks for $5. Says, I've got RSSI and the OSD per your video. It only reads 50%. Set up on aux 10, Betaflight 4.1. Wrong Way FPV, if you're using the aux channel for RSSI and it reads 50%, chances are good that you selected the wrong aux channel. The default value for an aux channel is mid position, which is 50%. So if you choose the wrong aux channel, then you'll get that. For example, are you using channel 10, but you selected aux 10, but channel 10 is actually aux 14, I think? Is that right? I think that's right. Anyway. Zoltan in the Discord says, I love my DJI goggle, but I also ordered the HDO2 because it's 2 worlds apart. Again, if you have the money to do that, that's like the best of both worlds, but most people don't. Mike Borgstrom says, my Tiny Hawk S has started a failsafe and loses telemetry. A second later, it works again, and it continues like that. Is there something I can do or check? Mike, there have been issues with the, oh no, that's not a Crazy Bee board. Sounds like you have a receiver or an antenna issue, Mike. Is it happening only on that quad, or is it happening on other quads too? If it happens on more than one quad, it's the radio. Yeah, if you have, that's a receiver issue, I'm sorry to say. You may need to replace the receiver. It says I've missed one paid chat. Have I missed one? It was a $4.99. Oh, no, that's the Therapist FPV. The Therapist FPV gave another $5 and said, you're doing the mod for me, lol, but I didn't really feel like reading that one out. $2 from Carrie Young says, can I run a DJI unit and an analog VTX for friends? Carrie, that's a good question. No, you cannot put an analog VTX on the same quad as the DJI Air unit. I tested that once, and even at 25 milliwatts, the analog VTX interferes, even if they're as far apart as possible on the frequencies, like raceband 1 and raceband 8. And even if their analog is at 25 milliwatts, it still interferes with the DJI Air unit and just screws up your link. So no, you can't run an analog VTX and a DJI Air unit on the same quad. How can I get my lipos warm and safe before I fly, asks Jason. There are heated, I think Ethics makes a heated battery bag that plugs into 12 volts power and heats the lipos. Some people put them in their pockets before they fly. If it's really cold, just don't get out of your car. Just stay in your car and let them be warm in your car. Those are some options. Some people will take one of those hand warmers, the chemical hand warmers that generate heat through a chemical reaction, and they'll put those in with your lipos. So, what's better? Thomas Uiterhagen says, what's better between 45C and 75C? The higher the C rating, the better for mini quads. For airplanes where you're not pulling much current, you can get away with lower C batteries, and they save a little bit of money. Mini quads need basically the highest C rating you can get, pretty much. 75C is about the least I would even think about putting on a quadcopter. 80 or 90C is better. 100 plus C is best, but they tend to cost more money. The House blog says, I tried flying from the car today. Need a magnetic mount antenna for my goggles. Personally, the House blog, I've flown from a car, and I think there's a little bit of reduction in range, but it probably depends on the car, but I actually found the range to be okay. Are they going to sell the Frostbite VTX by itself, asks Venom Splat. Thank you for $2 in the super chat, Venom Splat. I don't know of any plans to do that. I mean, obviously, Frostbite would need to have spare parts available if it was going to be a viable system. When they released the Bitefrost system, Bitefrost, not Frostbite, my mistake. When they released the Bitefrost system, they explicitly said, this is a beta project. It may never be restocked. And they sold it all as a kit. So, will they release it eventually as its own VTX? If they don't, then it's just not viable. So, Ryan Schub asks, regarding the DJI ecosystem, how much room is left for improvement through software? Well, that's a good question, Ryan. I mean, we just got the 1200 milliwatt mod, which was a completely software mod. Who knows what else might be in there? There have been some people who have dug into the DJI FCC filings, and the FCC filings indicate that the DJI Air unit supports 2.4 gigahertz as well as 5 gigahertz. And some people have said, wait, if we were to run at 2.4 gig, could we get even better range? There's no way to know what else is in there. Yeah. As opposed to, as far as the product life cycle goes, I think if you look at DJI's other product lines, you could have some idea of what their product life cycle might be like. How often does DJI release a new Mavic or a new, well, not Phantom anymore, but, and it seems like every year or two they've got a new product out. So it stands to reason that they probably won't iterate the FPV product line faster than that, because we're such a small market. Yeah. Let's see here. Simon Saucy says we still have the same problem after fixing the arm. Got to tell you, Simon, the next thing I would be doing is replacing the flight controller. The thing is, Simon, you could fix this with filters. But if your filters are at 1.0 and your quad is flying like that, it's like you're just limping at that point. If you fix it with filters, you'll hurt your flight performance. So in the process of taking apart your flight controller, you may find that you've got a broken standoff or a loose screw, and that'll fix it. If it's a brand new flight controller, man, yeah, I don't know. If your motors are soft mounted, Simon, take the soft mount off the motors. See if that fixes it. Juldor says the way he warms his lipos up in the winter is with a butane torch. No. No. Cotees. Mike Cotees in the Discord says, Joshua, are you still using the T16, the jumper T16? I like mine, but I find it pretty heavy, but then I'm coming from the X-Lite. Yeah, I am still using the T16, Mike. Some people noticed that the videos I posted from the road this week, I wasn't using the T16, and they said, aha! I wasn't being dishonest when I said I was switching to the T16. It's just that the process of me switching to the T16 means that I have to make a video about every step of setting it up. And I haven't finished doing that, so I wasn't ready to be on this trip with me. So I'm working on it. Mach 3D asks, has Rotor Riot sold their souls to DJI? It seems like they have all jumped on the bandwagon. Money talks, I suppose. Mach 3D, here's the thing. Money talks, yes, but that's not why Rotor Riot is promoting DJI. Here's the analogy I made about the Rotor Riot DJI sponsorship in the Rotor Riot live stream. DJI came to Rotor Riot and said, and I'm not making this up. This is literally, like, not word for word, but this is the conversation that was had. They said, hey, we want to sponsor episodes for you. And the question that anyone asks when a sponsor comes is, well, like, what do you want? Because a sponsor sometimes comes and says, I want to sponsor this video, and I want you to just say nice things about the product. Or I want you to show me the video before you release it so I can nix it. And a responsible reviewer will just say, no, that's not okay. I won't do that. So DJI comes to Rotor Riot and says, I want to sponsor your videos. And Rotor Riot says, well, what are you thinking? And DJI says, don't care. Do whatever you want to do. Just do it while using DJI. So DJI has no editorial control over the Rotor Riot videos at all. In fact, if you think about it, DJI wants to be able to disclaim responsibility for any wacky stuff Rotor Riot does. If DJI actually had editorial control, then if Rotor Riot did something stupid and caused a problem, DJI could get sued. But right now, DJI can say, well, yeah, we paid them sponsorship money, but we didn't, they just did whatever they wanted. So what happens is now let's ask about the DJI product. Is it a good product? Yes. It's a very good product. Not everybody wants it. Not everybody can afford it. But if somebody came to you and said, hey, I'm going to pay you to go to any restaurant you want to eat at and eat anything you want. All you have to do is wear my hat while you're doing it. Okay. I can pick the food though, right? Yes. You just got to wear, it's not a bad hat. It's kind of a good hat. I like the hat. It's a good looking hat. So has Rotor Riot sold their soul to DJI? I mean, have you sold your soul to your boss? You go to work, right? Do you have a job? I hope you have a job. If you're unemployed, I apologize. I hope you find work soon. You probably have had work, and you go to work, and you do things for your boss, and you get paid. Rotor Riot has to pay the bills somehow. and selling things in the store, I mean, that's awesome. But at the end of the day, this is another revenue stream for Rotor Riot that lets them go make awesome content. And after the content we shot last week, I can't wait for you guys to see some of the stuff we did last week, starting on Monday. So, have they sold their soul? No. I mean, yes, but no. Have you, in the same way that you sold your soul to your boss when you took a job offer? But there's no editorial control. Rotor Riot does whatever they want to do, and they do it while wearing DJI goggles, which every single pilot in Rotor Riot sincerely loves, and you would love too, except I'm guessing you haven't tried them. So, like, what's wrong with this situation? Anyway. Somebody asked in the live stream, have Rotor Riot sold out? And Jeff Orta, Vortex, said, we haven't sold out yet. We still have some in stock. I thought that was pretty funny. It'd be one thing if it was me. And although I'm a Rotor Riot cast member, I shoot episodes with Rotor Riot, but I am not tied to Rotor Riot in terms of finances or business. They don't. I intentionally don't take money from them in exchange for appearing on the episodes. I just have a great time going and making episodes with those guys. It's like a freaking vacation for me, and I just want to do it. But I don't get paid. I don't see any of that DJI sponsorship money, because on my channel, I try to be an objective reviewer, and I want you guys to trust when I say something's good or when I say something's bad. I would not take a DJI sponsorship and put sponsored by DJI in front of my videos. That's not who I am on my channel. But Rotor Riot, they're a freaking store. Their goal is to sell you things. So here's the thing that they're selling you. And it's a good thing. It's not like, oh, how dare you accept that nasty money. It's not like anybody ever claimed that Rotor Riot was objective. But they're not lying when they say it's a good product. Okay, let's move on now. That's all. Yep, Elmway. People in the chat talking about Elmway going out of business. It's true. Elmway is out of business. They said they mismanaged their company in the letter or something. I don't know what happened, but yep. The problem is, Techno FPV says the problem is they're pushing too much. If people don't have the money to buy it, it's not going to change anything, even if they make all the videos about DJI. I mean, Techno, I mean, you say they're pushing too much. I don't know. I mean, they mentioned there's the sponsored by DJI in front of every episode, which is required by contract. And then, in the episode, they're using the DJI system, but they're still doing the same epic shit that Rotor Riot. In fact, more epic shit, because now they have some freaking sponsorship money to pay for epic shit. Are they pushing it too much? I don't know. I mean, just I don't know. You gotta pay the bills. That's the thing. Rotor Riot's a business. They have, when we all go out and shoot episodes, someone has to pay for the airfare. If no one pays for the airfare, then instead of an epic episode with 5 pilots doing crazy shit in some great location, it's like Jeff and Drew go to a park and do something awesome. Don't get me wrong, but, sorry, money is a thing. Ooh, Ted asks, JB, what's up with that quad behind me? Oh, yeah, This is the Freefly Beetle. It's a freaking 3-inch with a well, we're not going to talk about it DJI anymore on this live stream, are we? It's a 3-inch with a freaking DJI air unit in it. So get that set up. Daniel Cruz asks, what 5.8 gig antenna do you recommend? Right now, the ones I'm using are the Vaz Ion V2 and Crosshair Extreme. The True RC X Air Crosshair is also very good. The Lumineer Axie is also very good. Pardon me. What's the weight? Is it 2.5 inch? I apologize. If it's 2.5 inch, I got that wrong. Freefly Beetle. It doesn't say. I'll take your word for it. Randy Mulhern. Why is it evil to make money to make more good products? It's a good question, Randy. I see a different side of it because I do this full time now. Eventually, I mean, you can't just keep doing something for free forever unless, I mean, if you want to do it full time and take it seriously, then you can't do it for free. You have to pay the bills, and that means you have to find a way to make money at it. In my case, the way that I make money at this is to just ask you guys, if you feel like I've earned it, become a patron. I don't push it hard, like I think I mentioned at the beginning of the stream, and other ways like ad revenue and affiliate links, and that works for me. But that's just not the business model that a show like Rotor Riot has chosen. They have the retail model and the sponsorship model. So there you go. I don't know why people are mad that like they sold out. I don't know why you didn't think that they were there to make money the whole time. Even if you go, oh, now I'm going to get into it. Oh my God. Even if you go back to like day one, like the OG pilots, you know, and when Rotor Riot first started, a company named Lauren International was part owner. I don't know the exact business arrangement, but the initial few months of Rotor Riot episodes, the best episodes that everybody talks about, the Duga dive, going to Spain, going to Hawaii, all of those episodes were paid for by Lauren International, who was trying to get this channel kickstarted. And Lauren International just dumped money into the Rotor Riot channel to try to get the brand going. Why did they do that? You know, they just felt like throwing money at a YouTube channel for fun. No, they did it because they wanted to eventually make money. Right? So this idea that somehow the fact that Rotor Riot is trying to make money is like weird. It's like, I don't know, like it costs money to make the show. Yeah, money has to come from somewhere. Okay, now I'm going to stop for real. Zane Kruger, stop spamming the chat. Stop it. Okay, I'm really going to move on now. I'm done talking about that. No more super chats. How are we doing in the Discord? Dan Z24, any plans to make a PID tuning video for your Beast class? Dan Z24, yes, in the way that I always have about 5 or 10 videos on the back burner that I kind of wish I would make, but maybe I'm not making it this exact minute. But yes. What do you think about the Beta 85X? D-Pilot, I have heard great things about a Beta 75 moved to an 85 frame. The 85X I don't think I've flown. Is Ciotti streaming today? Asks Tom Loreth. That's a good question. Let me ask Ciotti if he's streaming today. Ciotti, Aaron Ciotti, A-H-R-E-N Ciotti, is a pretty cool dude who knows a lot about quads and a lot about micros specifically. And he usually streams at 3 p.m. after my stream. I'll ask him if he's streaming today. Max VFPV says, I'm getting a black screen on my goggles from my VTX. Is it burnt out? Black screen means that the VTX is working, but the camera is not getting signal into the VTX. So your VTX is probably fine. It's your camera. IV says, JB, are you a Game of Thrones guy or an Ozarks kind of guy? IV, I watched the first season of Game of Thrones and the last season, but not the middle seasons. I watched like the first 3 episodes of Ozarks and lost interest. So I guess I'm a Game of Thrones guy, but I'm not really much of a TV guy in general. Let's see. Many people use Crossfire control with DJI FPV. Best of both worlds. That's true. I don't use the DJI controller for most of my quads. I don't want to bring 2 controllers with me. And as long as I have any quads that don't have an air unit in them, I have to have a second controller. So that's what I want to do. Hellspinner FPV says, is there going to be a JBF7? Yes, but the JBF7 that we were prototyping, I'm not sure how much to say about this. Yes, but it's not going to be the JBF7 I have leaked before, and the time scale has sort of now been reset again. That's all I'll say. MC's Creations, I don't want to go into that. The stuff about the arguments about Weather Steel and Noack got ripped off. Your statement, MC's Creations, that guys like Steele and Chad Noack never got any money from RR, that is categorically incorrect. For example, Chad Noack has said in public, so no one disagrees about this, that he got royalty money from the Hype Train V1 motors. He has argued that he should have gotten more than he did, but no one disputes that he got money. There is a lot of back and forth on these arguments. Capper has said that he tried to pay Steele, but Steele kept turning the money down because he did, I don't know. And now we're back in the argument. So we're not going to go there. But this whole thing that they never got any money, that's definitely not true. Maybe they deserved more than they got. Maybe they feel like they got mistreated. Go watch Michael Rollins' interviews if you want to hear more about that. This is not the place for it. S916 AC Town, you have gotten me to notice your question by spamming it in the chat, but you have now gotten me to put you in timeout because I don't like that you're spamming the chat and I'm not going to answer your question. So wait till you come out of timeout, then try again. Cement Kid wants to know if I've ever used the TBS Unify Evo. I actually have an Evo. I haven't ever used it. It's got a built-in OSD. The Evo, I think, is great because if you want to have like an FPV wing, then it's got a built-in OSD and you don't need a flight controller. But if I have a flight controller, why would I use the Evo OSD? That I don't understand why you would do that. Why not just use the Betaflight OSD? If you've got a KISS flight controller, the TBS Evo might be really awesome. Yeah. MC's Creations says, what I mean is they need money to pay people. So, yeah, no, that's true, MC's Creations. I mean, it's tough because I wasn't there back in the day. So I really can't weigh in. I can listen to things that people like Steele or Chad Noack or Chad Capper say in public, and I could think about how those things seem similar or different to my experiences. But I can't say what happened back then. I can't say who's right because I wasn't there, and so I won't. I can say that Drew and Capper have never failed to live up to their agreements to me in any way, and have never been unclear about the expectations of our relationship. When they said they would pay me, they did. And they never, implied that they would pay me and then backed out or anything like that. I have gotten money from them in the past. For a while, I was on the payroll and was receiving a paycheck. Later, I stopped doing that and haven't done that since, for over a year now. So I can say that's been my experience. But you're right. I mean, the same people who are annoyed that Rotor Riot has a DJI sponsorship are also mad that Rotor Riot doesn't pay its pilots enough money. It's like, well, where do you think that money is going to come from? The DJI sponsorship is one way you get money to pay pilots. Let me tell you, having a team of 5 or 7 pilots, or however many there are right now, I can count on my fingers, to then pay all of those guys a full-time salary. No, and then you've got warehouse workers and office workers, and where do you think? I mean, the DJI stuff is selling good in the Rotor Riot store, but it's not selling that good. So, okay. What's the best flying sub 250 gram setup with a DJI Air unit? Wow, Teld, I wish that Ciati were here to answer that question because there are so many. It's moving so fast, I'm hard-pressed to say what the best is. A lot of people like the Acrobat if you get it under 250 grams. I think you got to, if you're carrying the Air unit, you're going to be real close to 250 grams. The iFlight Zing motors or the T-motor, I think they're the F20s. Both of those are a 1507 sized motor, and they're very, very good for freestyle, very smooth motors. As far as flight controller goes, I'm not sure. FPV is supposed to be counterculture. Well, Slyplay Mike, you're right, but look at skateboarding, right? I mean, look at the evolution of skateboarding. And today we have Vans being sold in Broadway shoe store, right? skateboarding transitioned from a very countercultural thing to a mainstream thing. And some people feel that's bad, but you know, like, we all got to play Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and I think we can all agree that's a good thing. So I think the transition from counterculture to mainstream is natural and normal and not inherent. Because look, skate culture is as healthy as it ever was. There's like kids who skate are better than they ever were. Skateboarding equipment is fantastic. There's content on YouTube about skateboarding. It's not the same culture that it was when it was countercultural, but it's a great culture. And I would love to see FPV take the same path that skateboarding did, from this purely countercultural punk thing to something that, although different, is still awesome in its own way. That would be awesome. Because here's the thing. If skateboarding hadn't gone mainstream, it would have died out. That's what I think. I'm not an expert on like the history of skateboarding, but that's my read on it. Eventually, things that are purely countercultural sort of peter out, whereas things that transition to mainstream become stronger, and I'd love to see FPV do that. Do you think it's fantastic that drone racing is on NBC at 2 in the afternoon on a Sunday? Right there with like football? I think that's amazing. And if FPV stayed purely a countercultural graffiti on the wall thing, that wouldn't be happening. I want to live in a world where drone racing is just as popular as snowboarding and BMX bike racing and skateboarding. I want to live in that world. And that means that drone racing has to be, or FPV has to become more mainstream and lose some of its countercultural rebellious roots. And if you're like Bot Grinder or Zorro, that sounds really shitty to you. And I respect that, but personally I don't agree with it. I am not Bot Grinder or Zorro. I love those guys. I consider those guys friends, or at least, you know, respected acquaintances. But that's where I'm at. Okay, now I'm seeing, okay. Well, S916 AC Town, your messages are coming through 3 in a row, so let's see here. Ooh, we had a little bit of ranting on this one. You guys coming to Germany don't know that we are. Drones need to be mainstream to not be outlawed completely. We are that close to losing the whole thing. You are exactly right, Sasha Cruz. Here's the thing. Skateboarding was never threatened by a body as powerful as the FAA. Here's the thing. Skateboarders went out on the streets and did tricks on the streets, and people put up no skateboarding signs. But FPV pilots, Amazon, Google, UPS, billionaires would like to lock us out of the sky. And that was never true with skateboarding. Skateboarding never faced an enemy as powerful as FPV faces in the form of Amazon, Google, UPS, FedEx, all these guys who want to use drones for professional purposes. So we need to get mainstream as fast as we can, because the only thing that will preserve our rights, in legally preserve our rights, is to become mainstream enough that when someone says, like, yeah, I think so. I think it's still a long shot. And here's the thing. The rebels will just keep doing it, whether it's legal or not. So they don't really lose anything by it becoming mainstream. It's just the rebels will still fly and it'll be illegal, and it always was illegal, and they'll do whatever they're going to do. But in the meantime, the rest of us have more options as it becomes mainstream. Hey, Siati. Siati, looks like Siati was streaming. He's here in the chat anyway. So, got a couple super chats coming in as we come to the end of the stream. Techno FPV, thanks for $2. How can I get mag to show up in Betaflight? You got to install the magnetometer. You need I2C pads. You need that I2C interface, the SDA and SCL. If you haven't hooked your magnetometer up to the SDA SCL pads, then that's why it's not showing up. Ethan Mitchell, thanks for $5. I used right-hand antennas on my DJI goggles and left-hand on the quads, and I didn't notice any signal loss. You know, is it not sensitive to polarization? all RF signals are sensitive to polarization, Ethan, digital or analog. If you put it through a left or right-hand antenna, it'll be polarized. If you didn't notice any signal loss, two things possible. Number one, your antennas may just not actually be very polarized. Some poorly built antennas they say they're left-hand polarized, but they're actually kind of linear. Also, you may just not be testing in a very controlled environment, and you may just not be really noticing the effect very strongly. Eric R., thanks for $5. No question. Just want to thank you. Moving Shadow FPV, thanks for £5. Who are some of your favorite pilots, excluding the Rotor Riot crew? That's a good question, Moving Shadow. I got to tell you that I watch freestyle videos. Oh, wow. What's the guy's name? I saw one this weekend of some guys doing train surfing while a drone flew around them. I'm going to blank on the name. Was it Paradox? Oh, my God. Oh, Captain Ulf. Paradox X Captain Ulf. Holy jinkies. I'm going to turn the... Am I going to get copy struck for this? I hope not. You guys need to check this video out. This is the hardcore-est FPV video I've ever seen. So you want to know? A lot of times I'll watch videos and I'll go, oh, that guy's pretty good, but it doesn't really register in my mind who the pilot is. So I'm going to struggle to name a bunch of other, like, ooh, really good freestyle pilots. I saw Min Chan ripping it up recently. He's freaking good, but I think we all knew that. Hub of FPV, thanks for $5. Join JB's Patreon. Oh, that's really nice of you. I swear to God, that really happened. Vampire 49.97, thanks for $2. Low KV brushless, good for 1S indoor. Whoop. But what's low KV? Anyway, we're coming to the end of the stream, and we're coming up on 3 p.m. And since Ciati is going to start streaming as well, we should go ahead and give the air to him so you guys can go ahead and watch him. Tom Smith is good. Yeah. Ciati, post your live stream. Post your link in your live stream, will you please? Post it in here as you get going. I am going to be hanging out in my Discord server doing a voice chat with my patrons for the next little bit, especially because I was out of town. I was a little bit less responsive on the Discord than I wish I was. So I figured I'd do that to try to get some good vibes back. Ciati is posting the link to his live stream if you want to keep watching more Q&A. Or what are you doing today, Ciati? Maybe not Q&A, maybe a build, maybe a video edit. But if you want to keep watching the stream, I'm about to go off the air and he's about to begin as he posts the link. Thank you guys so much. My next stream will be tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Coming up this week on the channel, I've got the interview with the Orca guys. I've got my Acrobrat build series is going to begin. And more goodness. Building a Cinebrat, a Stingy V2, and a 1505 Wow. You're building a lot of things. All right, guys. Check out Ciati FPV. I'm going to be out of here. And patrons, I will see you in the Discord in just a few minutes as soon as I run and use the little boys' room and everything. See you guys tomorrow. Bye, everybody.